name is Rachel, and today I'm here to do the mid-year book freakout tag. So first of all, I'm actually doing pretty well. I have at this point, in mid-June, read 56 books out of my 100 book goal, so I'm definitely on target. I will have to say, though, that it hasn't been a fantastic year, so I was a little hard-pressed to come up with some answers for these, but I did try to only use each book once to get a variety. So first up is the best book that you've read in 2019 so far, and for me, I went with Shout by Lori Halse Anderson. This is just so moving and deep and touching and fantastic. I did the audiobook where Lori Halse Anderson narrates, and it is definitely worth the read. I highly recommend it, especially if you enjoyed Speak by Lori Halse Anderson. 2 is the best sequel you've read so far in 2019, and I kind of cheated for this. I haven't read many sequels. This is really a companion instead of a sequel, but close enough, I thought. And for that, I'm going with There's Something About Sweetie by Sandhya Menon. This was so good. I really, really enjoyed it. It was one of my favorite books of the year so far, and I just love Sandhya Menon's writing. I love her characters. I just think they're fantastic, and I will definitely continue reading these. I particularly enjoyed having some of the same characters present in this book as there was in her first book, which was When Dimple Met Rishi. This book involves Rishi's little brother Ashish, and I really enjoyed getting to know the Patel family a little bit more in this book. Next up is a new release you haven't read yet, but you definitely want to, and for me that's Furious Hours by Casey Sepp, and this is about the true crime journey that Harper Lee took and didn't publish. There is this true crime case that Harper Lee was obsessed about this man who killed multiple people and got away with it, and then somebody actually killed him and got away with it. And it just sounds so interesting to me, and I really, really want to give it a read. Next up is the most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and obviously being a huge fan of Maggie Stiefvater, Call Down the Hawk is going to be on the list. But I'd also like to mention Fountains of Silence. This is by Ruta Sepetys, and she is, I would say, definitely an author that's in my favorites. She has written several books that I have read. I've read 2 of the 3 out so far, and they've been fantastic. And I've done them with my high school book club, and the kids have really loved them. So when I found out Fountains of Silence was coming out this year, I was super, super excited, and I got an e-arc of it. I'm just bracing myself to get in the mood to read something that's probably going to make me cry. So that one's going to be a wait and see when I'm in the mood for it. But it comes out later this fall. Next up is the biggest disappointment, and for me, that's Persuasion by Jane Austen. I just really didn't like this book. It was just so slow, and not a lot happened, and there wasn't, it just was missing so much that Pride and Prejudice has, and Pride and Prejudice is, like, my favorite book, but it had, like, the love element, but it just took forever to get there. I feel like it was literally just the last tiny little bit that was what I really was wanting in the book. I would say the last probably 25 to 50 pages were what I was wanting out of the whole book. So it was a disappointment. I was hoping I liked it a little bit more since Pride and Prejudice is my favorite, but I have read it now. I'm a little bit more hesitant to read more Jane Austen at this point. I'm hoping they're more like Pride and Prejudice and less like Persuasion, but we'll see. If you read Persuasion, did you like it? Did you enjoy it as much as Pride and Prejudice? I just really did not. I was bored and I was ready for it to be over most of the time. So again, disappointed. What can I say? The biggest surprise was Stay Sexy and Don't Get Murdered by Karen Kilgariff and Georgia Hardstark. This was a surprise because I was expecting it to be a lot more like their podcast, which is My Favorite Murder, but it was actually really, really good. I was surprised in a good way. It was better than what I thought it would be, and I really, really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the essays. I enjoyed their perspective. I enjoyed their input. I thought they sounded just so much more, I don't know, so much more, I guess, in print than they do in the podcast, and I really enjoyed it, and I was really surprised how much I enjoyed it. Next up is a new favorite author, and for this I went with Candace Fleming. I read The Family Romanoff this year, and I really, really enjoyed it. I thought the way she did this narrative nonfiction take on a historical family was really interesting. So I'm definitely going to look into more Candace Fleming in the future and see if I like any of the other topics that she picks up on, because I really enjoyed her take on The Family Romanov. I enjoyed the pacing and the narrative way she portrayed all the information that she wanted to share. Next is the newest fictional crush, and for this I went with Cal from Aurora Rising. I just really loved him, and I have a feeling that Steve West is going to be his voice in the narration, and that just makes me really, really excited, because Steve West is like my favorite narrator. So I'm super pumped to go back and read this again with the narration, and this is one of my favorite books of the year. This is one of the few that I really, really enjoyed this year, and I just can't say enough good things about it. I love the team of Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. They work well together. They produce really great material, and Cal is my favorite. My new favorite crush, for sure. My newest favorite character, I'm going to go with Mia Tang from Front Desk by Kelly Yang. This was such a cute middle grade book about immigration, about fitting in, and about running a hotel, and it was just really, really cute. I could have put this under a surprise as well, because I was very surprised at how much I did enjoy this, but I really, really loved it, and I thought Mia was probably, of all the books that I've read this year, my favorite character so far. She's young, and she makes mistakes, but she's trying her hardest, and she just seems to be a genuinely good person, and I really like that in my characters. Next up is a book that made you cry. I went with two for this one. One is Sold by Patricia McCormick. This is about children in the East being sold into sex slavery in, I think it was Nepal. I think they were Indian children being sold to Nepal, or vice versa. I can't remember now, but oh my gosh, it was heart-wrenching, and it was really, really tough to read through. Another one is one I just finished before filming this, and that is Dust of Eden. This is by Mariko Nagai, and oh my goodness, this one is about Japanese families in internment camps during World War II, and it was another really hard-hitting book, and I don't think either one of them actually made me cry, but they were the closest that I came to crying for any of the books that I've read. They were really sad, really hard to read, and really rough to get through because of the material. Next up is a book that made you happy, and for that I'm going with Everything's Trash, But It's Okay by Phoebe Robinson. I think that this book was just hilarious. There were so many parts that made me actually laugh out loud. I love her voice. I think she's really funny, and I don't listen to her podcast enough. I really need to, because I like her voice, and I really enjoy her perspective on things, and it definitely made me happy. It made me laugh. The next is The Most Beautiful Book You Bought So Far. I decided to change it to The Most Beautiful Book I've Read So Far, because I bought a ton of books this year and it's hard to keep track. But the most beautiful book I've read so far this year, I think, was Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I absolutely just love that book. It is such a pretty book. The cover is gorgeous with the wings and then like the buildings leading up into the wings and the black sprayed edges. It's just such a beautiful book. And to be honest, I was having a hard time getting into this book, and I almost DNF'd it, but I told myself if I DNF it, that I have to get rid of the book, and that's what made me keep going, because I wanted to keep the book because it's so beautiful. And then last but not least is What Do You Want to Read Before the End of the Year? And I have two books that I really, really, really want to get to before the end of the year. I actually made a video earlier in the year of books I wanted to read in 2019, and I feel like I've only tried one of them. And I DNF'd it. So I really need to get on that list. But the two that are like tops on my list are Scythe and A Court of Thorns and Roses. I really, really want to get those two books read by the end of the year. So there you have it, my mid-year book freakout tag. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again in another video soon. Bye for now.